Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to discuss about while loops in R programming language. So here we are going to discuss while loops. Before we discussed about the for loops. However, while loops are going to be... Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to learn how to create arrays in R. So firstly, I start with this example, and then I will go up and work with a three-dimensional array. In order to create our array, we are having the values that are 5, 3, 8, 1, 9, and 2. So these are the values that I want to put in my array. So I call the array function, and I put these values as the values of my array. Then I separate the first part from the second part by a comma, and then I mentioned that I would like to have an array with dimensions of 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay, all of this that we created is assigned to an array called R2, and then I print R2. When I look at the output, I see the same numbers 538192, 538192, and we see 2 rows here and 3 columns, as you see here. Okay, so this is basically how we can create two-dimensional arrays in R. But now let me give you an example of a three-dimensional array. So I commented this part, the print of the R2, and I run the code one more time, so we see the print of R1 only in the output. So this is one array only. Okay, so I would like to have a three-dimensional array, meaning that I would like to have an array with the dimensions of 2 by 3 by 2. So 2 rows, 3 columns, and 2 layers, let's say. Okay, so you see 2 layers. This is the layer 1, as it is indicated here, and this is the layer 2. Okay, and we see in each layer we are having 2 rows, okay, and 3 columns. So 2 rows and 3 columns in each layer. Okay, so these are the dimensions of my array. So I write down dim equals 2, 3, and 2. 2 rows, 3 columns, and 2 layers. Then in order to fill the array that we just created, we need to put some numbers. So I would like to have numbers from 1 to 12. So I write down 1 colon 12, meaning that I'm going to have numbers from 1 to 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are in the first layer. And in the second layer, we are having 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All of this is assigned to an array called R1, and we are printing the R1 in the output. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, what's up? In today's video, we're going to learn how to convert a matrix to an array in R and how to combine vectors into arrays. So we're going to start with this example. I have a matrix called mat. Okay, this is the name of my matrix. It has 2 rows and the values are from 1 to 6, meaning that the values in this matrix are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are 6 values that I would like to be assigned to my matrix. Okay, so the starting point is 1, then we are having the colon, then we are going to write down the ending point. So 6 values are there, and then I mentioned that the number of rows that I would like to have for this matrix is equal to 2, meaning that, okay, I have 6 elements and 2 rows, therefore 6 divided by 2, it means that there are going to be 3 columns. The compiler is going to calculate it automatically. So all of this matrix that is created is assigned to a matrix that is called mat. Then I would like to convert this matrix to an array in R. So we call the asArray function, and then inside parentheses, we write down simply the name of our matrix. Then all of this is assigned to an array called R3, and we're printing R3 in the output. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We see that this matrix that we created from 1 to 6 with 2 rows, as we're having it here still, is now converted to an array, and we're printing the array, and we see it here in the output. So this was the first part of this video. Now that I run the code one more time, I see the print of R4 in the output. You see here, this is the first layer and this is the second layer. Okay, so now I want to convert vectors into array. The first vector, called vec1, has these values from 1 to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 elements of my vec1. So the starting point is 1, the ending point is 4. Then we are having the vec2, and the numbers are from 5 to 8. So the first number is 5, then 6, then 7, and then 8. So these are 2 vectors that I just created. Now I would like to have an array of these 2 vectors. So I call the array function for vec1 and vec2, and I mentioned that I would like to have dimensions of 2 by 2, so 2 rows, 2 columns, and 2 layers. So in the first layer, I'm going to have the vec1, and in the second layer, I'm going to have the vec2. And each vector has 4 elements, meaning that these 4 elements can be written in a 2 by 2 array. So 2 rows and 2 columns are sufficient for having the values of my vector, and I have 2 layers. In the first layer, I have the vec1, and in the second layer, I have the vec2. And then all of this is assigned to R4, and we see the print of R4 here in the output. So, and this is the R4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the values of the vec1. 5, 6, 7, 8, and these are the values of the vec2. So this is how we can convert a matrix to an array and combine vectors into array. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to work with a 3-dimensional array. We're going to learn how to get the dimensions, get number of dimensions, get total elements, and view the structure of an array. And also we're going to label the rows and columns and tables and access single elements, entire row and entire table. So here is my 3-dimensional array. It has 2 rows, 3 columns, and 2 layers or tables, let's say. And the numbers are from 1 to 12, and these are the dimensions. And we created this array and assigned it the name of R1, and we print R1 in the output. So this is the R1. This is the first layer. This is the second layer. You see 2 rows for each layer and 3 columns for each layer. So this is my 3-dimensional array. Now I would like to know what is the dimensions of this array. Simply, in order to have that, I call the dim function for the R1, and I print it in the output. So we see 2, 3, 2. 2 is the number of rows. The second number is the number of columns, and the third number, if available, is the number of layers. So it's a 2 by 3 by 2 array that we are having it here. Okay, so if I print the array one more time, so this is the array. So this is the number of rows. In each layer we are having 2 rows. You see 2 rows, and in each layer we are having 3 columns. Okay, and we are having 2 layers. Okay, so this is how we can get the dimensions. Then I have the run of the code, and we see that number 3 is being printed in the output. So this is the length of the dimensions, so the number of dimensions that this actually array has, and it has 3 dimensions, right? Because we are having 3 dimensions here. So 1 row, 1 dimension for rows, 1 dimension for columns, and 1 dimension for layers. Therefore, there are 3 dimensions for this array. This is why we call it 3-dimensional array. So now I would like to know R1 has how many dimensions. So I call the length function for the dimensions of the R1, and we see number 3 is being printed in the output. So this is how actually we can get the length, actually the number of dimensions of an array. So then what is next is that we can have the number of elements that exist in our array. So there are 12 elements. So 6 of which is shown in table 1 and the remaining ones are shown in table 2. So in total, there are 12 elements in this three-dimensional array, and we see 12 is being printed in the output. And how we can get that 12 number? So we simply call the length function for the R1 for the array. Then we can have the view of the structure of our array, and we see it here in the output. So we see that this is the structure of my array, and we see that, for example, we are having the values to be integers. And then we see that here, this is the number of rows from 1 to 2, number of columns from 1 to 3, because we are having 3 columns, and number of layers or tables that are from 1 to 2. And next, we can start actually labeling the rows and the columns and the layers. So I run the code one more time. We see this is the table 1. You see now instead of 1 2 3 1 2, we are having and 1 2 here. So this is layer 1, layer 2. So we are having table 1 and table 2. Instead of 1 2 3 here, I'm having column from 1 to 2. Instead of 1 and 2 here, I'm having row 1 and row 2. Table 2, columns from 1 to 3, rows from 1 to 2. So basically, this is how we can label it. So how do we do it? Actually, this is the output. In order to do that, simply we are having a list of labels. So first row 1, row 2, because we're having 2 rows, column 1, column 2, and column 3, and then table 1 and table 3, table 1 and table 2. So these are the labels that I put inside a list and assign it to dimensions name. So we call the dim names function for array 1. Okay, and then we print again the array 1, and we see the array 1 is changed, and we are having these labels now in the output. Okay, so this is actually how we can do that. Then we would like to access a single element in my array. So I would like to have the access to this element. Okay, for that we need to give the address to the compiler. So I call the R1, then I mention that, okay, this is in the first table or in the second table. So this is in the first, number 3 is in the first table. So I write down number 1 here on the right side. Okay, then I mention, okay, this is in the first table. Is it in the first row? Yes. So I write down number 1 here. And which number is the number of columns? So this number 3 exists in column 2. So I write down 2 here. So in table 1, row 1, and column 2. Okay, so we give this address to the compiler for the array 1. So we see number 3 is being printed in the output. If I want to have, for example, the print of number 10, simply it is in table 2. So I write down table 2 here. Then it is in the second row and also the second column. So I simply write down number 2 here again, and I run the code, and we see number 10 is being printed here in the output. So this is how actually we can have the access to a single element of an array. And how are we able to print the entire row? For example, here, when I run the code, I see numbers from 7 to 11. So this first row of the layer 2 is being printed. So I tell the compiler to go and check the R1, the table 2, and the row 1, and I don't have any indication for the column. It means that I want to have this row, number 1 of the second layer, all the elements, okay, in column 1, column 2, and column 3. So I leave it empty. It is going to give me all the columns from row 1 in the table 2. Okay, so 7, 9, and 11, all of them are being printed in the output. And finally, how can we have the print of the entire table? So this is my original array. I want to have the print of the first table. Okay, so I call the R1. I put nothing for the rows. I put nothing for the columns, meaning that I would like to have all rows and columns for table 1. So we see that here table 1 is being printed here in the output. So basically in this video we learned many things about three-dimensional arrays. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video we're going to learn how to create a three-dimensional array, how to get elements that are greater than 5, how to modify a single element, how to modify entire column. We're going to learn element-wise operations, and we're going to learn operations between arrays. Okay, so we're going to learn these topics in this video. Firstly, let me explain how I create a three-dimensional array. So I call the array function, and these are the values from 1 to 12. So starting point is 1 and the ending point is 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 12 are the elements of my array. And then I would like to specify its element. So 2 rows, 3 columns, and 2 layers, or let's say tables. All of this is assigned the name of R1, and we print R1 in the output. So this is R1. When I run the code, we see R1 here in the output. This is the first layer, and this is the second layer as we decided here. So 2 layers, and each layer has 2 rows and 3 columns. So 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay. So here you see that we are having number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first layer, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 in the second layer. So this is my three-dimensional array. Now I would like to have the elements that are greater than 5. So I run the code. I see that these elements that are greater than 5 are being printed here. So this is the conditional printing, or let's say filtering. So I would like to have the elements in the R1 that are greater than 5. And you can modify it, of course. You can print only the elements that are greater than or equal to 7, for example. Or let's say greater than 8. So I run the code one more time. I see that the elements that are greater than 8 is being printed. They are being printed here in the output. So this is the first thing that we wanted to learn in this video. Then we would like to learn how to modify a single element. So now you see that here is my original array. Okay, I would like to go for the first layer, first row, and the first column. I would like to modify this number. So first layer, first row, and the first column. So it will be number 1. I would like to assign number 10 to it, number 100 to it. So let me run the code one more time. When I run the code, you see the new version of the array is being printed, and that number 1 here is now transformed to be number 100. Okay, so how did we do that? Firstly, on the right hand side I have the number 1. On the left hand side I have the address of the element that I would like to be changed. So the first row, the first column of the first layer, I would like to assign number 100 to it. And then I print again the R1, so we see the modified version of the array in the output. Okay, so this is another thing. Then we would like to modify, let me make a copy here. So then we would like to modify the entire column. So let me comment this part. I run the code. You see this is the original array again. Okay, I would like to modify the entire column. So I run the code now. This is the new version of the, let me also comment this part so it will not be effective. So this is the modified version of the array. So this was the original one, this part, okay? And this is the modified version. And if you look more closely, you will see that this number 3 and 4, they have been replaced by numbers 50 and 60. So this is my actually updated array. So I modified the elements in the second row completely. How did we do that? In order to do that, simply we add the numbers that we would like to be replaced. So we would like to have number 50 and 60 now in the new version. In order to assign them to the second column of the first layer, simply we write down the name of the array. We leave the before first comma, we leave it empty because it's with the rows. We don't have to do anything with the rows. I would like to modify the entire column 2 in the first table. And you see that the entire column 2 in the first table is now modified. Okay, entire column 2. If I want to modify the entire column 3, simply I write number 3 here. I run the code and you see that 50 and 60, they are now assigned to the third column, which we're having 5 and 6 originally. Okay, so this is another thing that we can do here. Then we would like to have the element wise operations. For example, we would like to have R1 to be added by number 5. Okay, so this is the original array, and this is the new version. And you see that this number is the first element and this was the first number. So number 1 plus 5, it's 6. Number 3 plus 5, it's 8. Number 5 plus 5, it's 10. And if you go through all the elements of this new array, you will see that they are the original element in the first array, in the original array, plus number 5. So it is an element wise addition of number 5. Okay. The second thing is that we can have the multiplication as well. So I run the code. You see that this is my newly generated array, and all the elements of the original array is multiplied by 2 and then assigned here. For example, here in the second layer of the original array, we have the first element to be 7. It is multiplied by 2 and we are having number 14 here. So then number 8 multiplied by 2, we are having number 16 here. 9 multiplied by 2, we are having 18 here. 10 multiplied by 2, we are having 20 here. So this is actually the element wise multiplication of number 2. We can have any number here, like multiplication of 5. For example, I run the code. You see that all the elements in the original array are multiplied by number 5 and are shown here. Okay, so this is another thing. And then you can calculate the logarithm of each element in the array. Okay, you see that the logarithm of each element in the original array is calculated and assigned here. So this is how also we can have that. We simply call the log function for the R1, and that's going to help us to do the work. Then here I create a new array that is called R2, and it is the same as the R1. So it has numbers from 1 to 12 and the dimensions are 2, 3, and 2. And they must have the same dimensions when we would like to add 2 arrays. So here I have the R1 plus R2. I run the code and here you see the output. So this is the R1 and we are having an identical R2 as well. So this one is added to that one and you see that it's number 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 3 is 6, etc. So this is also basically how we can have the operations between arrays. Thank you for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video we're going to learn how to create a two-dimensional array in R. So my array's name is X. We are having the X on the left hand side. On the right hand side I call the array function, and this is what happens inside the parentheses. So we are having two parts that they are being separated by a comma. So starting point is 1 and the ending point is 6. And then on the after comma part, we're going to have the dimensions. We're going to tell the compiler to have the dimensions equal to C, 2, and 3, meaning that I would like to have 2 rows, okay, and 3 columns. So numbers from 1 to 6 should be divided into 2 rows and 3 columns, okay. So when 2 multiplied by 3, it will be 6. So 6 values make sense to have for our array. So when I print the array X, we see that this is the first row, this is the second row as we expected here, and then we are having 3 columns. So this is the first column, second column, and the third column, and we see that numbers are from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what if I want to have 3 rows and 3 columns? Would it be possible to have it from these numbers? No, because when we are having 3 rows and 3 columns, we need to have 9 elements, while we are having only 6 elements here. So I changed the ending point and I put it to be 9. So when I run the code, we see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Previously, we were having up until 6, so the last column would have been empty. But if we want to have some values, we need to put the starting point and ending point in accordance with the number of rows and columns. So this is the first row, this is the first row, second row, and the third row, and this is the first column, second column, and the third column. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to learn how to create an array in R programming language. So first of all, I need to name my array. I call it R1. I could name it, for example, X. So I'll call it X. X is my array. Then in order to create an array, simply on the right hand side, I call the array function, and then I mention in parentheses starting point, colon, the ending point. Okay, so it will be the 1 will be the starting point of our array, then we will have number 5 as the ending point of our array. Okay, so number 1 to 5, they are being assigned to our array called X, and then we're printing the values that are inside the array X. So we are having 1 to 5 in the output. So in case I want to have from 1 to 15, so I change this and I run the code one more time, and then we see in the output we are having from 1 to 15 in the output. So this is basically how we can create an array in R. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to learn how to create an array with strings. So the name of my array is X, as we see it on the left hand side. And then in order to create our array, we simply call the array function. And then we are having the strings. So this array needs, actually not needs to, but this array has 4 elements. So Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Donna. So these are the 4 names that I would like to be assigned to our array called X, which is an array of strings. And then I would like to know its dimension. So the dimension is 2 by 2. So we are having 2 rows and 2 columns. Okay. So after that, after creating the array X, I print the array X. So when I run this code, we see that here the names are being printed: Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dana. If I want to have, for example, 2 rows and 3 columns, we can also do that, but we need to add a few names, like 2 names there. Why? Because when we are having the 2 rows and 3 columns, 2 multiplied by 3 will be 6, meaning that we need to have 6 names, while we were having only 4 names. So I add 2 names, Reza and Shahin, and I run the code one more time. So we see that now we are having 2 rows and 3 columns, column 1, column 2, and column 3. And we see that Reza and Shahin, both of them are being added to this array of strings in R. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to learn how to have an array being multiplied by a constant number. So first of all, I have an array that is called x. To create this array, I call the array function. The starting point and ending point, they are 1 and 6. So we're going to start from 1 and then we're going to finish at 6. And the dimensions are 2 and 3. So we are having 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay, so this is the way that I am organizing the array. So now when I run this code and I print the array x, we see array x is this one. So we are having 2 rows, as you see, and 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these are the elements of the array. Then I would like to multiply the elements of this array by a constant number, which is integer 10. Okay, so I write down the name of the array multiplied by 10, and it is going to be assigned to an array called result, and then I print the result array. So we see that here in the output we are having now 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and 60. So the original elements of the original array x, they are being multiplied by 10. So this is why instead of 1 we are having 10, instead of 2 we are having 20, instead of 3 we are having 30, etc. until the end. We could have another constant. For example, I could have number 5. So when I run the code, we see that here we are having the elements multiplied by 5, for example, here. Or we could have the addition also. So element-wise addition, meaning that each element in the array x is going to be added by 5. So instead of having 1, now I'm having 6. Instead of having 2, I'm having 7. Instead of 3, I'm having 8, etc. until the end. So this is basically how we can have the element-wise mathematical operations in R. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we would like to learn how to change a specific value in a two-dimensional array using in R programming language actually. So first of all, I need to initialize my array. My array is called x. I call the array function starting from number 1 ending at number 9. So starting point is 1 and ending point is 9. And the dimensions are 3 rows and 3 columns. Then I print the array x. Okay. So when I print this array, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So starting from 1 ending at 9, we're having 3 rows and 3 columns as we specified here. Okay, so this is the number. Now I would like to modify a specific element in this array x. Which one? So I would like to modify the number that has this address, row 2, column 3. So this is the row 2, this is the row 2, and this is the column 3. So number 8, I would like to modify it. Okay. So if I want to modify number 8, firstly, I need to write down the name of the array, which is x, and then the address of that element, meaning that that element is in which row and which column. Then on the right hand side, I simply write down the value that I would like to be there instead of 8. So now I want to replace 8 with 99. So I put 99 on the right hand side. On the left hand side, I write down the address of that element in the x array and use the assignment operator. Then I use the print function to print the array x to see if everything is okay or not, if we did the modification or not. Looking at the output here, we see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 instead of 8, we are having 99 now, and then number 9. So basically in this video, we learned how to modify that. So instead of 99, I could have 90, for example. I run the code one more time. We see that now the modified 8 is 90. But what if I want to modify number 5 and not number 8? So firstly, what is the value that I want to be assigned to number 5? Instead of 5, I would like to have number, for example, 50. Okay. Now I need to give the address of number 5. So it's in the row 2 and column 2. Okay. So row 2 and column 2 of the x array. Okay. 50 is being assigned to the element in the x array with row 2 and column 2. So if I run the code now, we see that the modified element is there actually. So we don't have the 8 being modified anymore because we didn't do it. But we see that instead of number 5, we are having number 50 as we were expecting it here. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to learn how to have sum of each row in an array and also sum of each column in an array. So this is my array called X. I'm creating it and starting from 1 and ending at 9. And then the dimensions are 3 by 3, meaning that 3 rows and 3 columns. So when I run this code, you see the original array X is being printed using this line in the output. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So these are the elements of our array X. Okay. Now I would like to have the sum of each row, meaning that I would like to have the sum of these 3 numbers and these 3 numbers and these 3 numbers. And then I would like to have the sum of each column, meaning that I would like to have 1, 2, 3, the sum of 4, 5, 6, the sum of 7, 8, and 9. But how can we do that? In order to do that, I have the apply function for the X array with the margin 1 and call the sum function because we would like to calculate the sum. When we are putting the margin to be equal to 1, it means that we want to have the sum of each row, margin equals 1, for the X array using the apply function. It is being assigned to a new array, let's say with 1 row, that is called row sums, and we print row sums. So we see that 12, 15, and 18 is being printed in the output. So 12 comes from the 12 actually comes from the 1 plus 4 plus 7. 15 actually comes from the fact that we are adding 2 plus 5 plus 8. So this is the second row sum. And 3 plus 6 plus 9, it is going to be printed in 18 here. It is going to be shown as 18 here. So 18 is the sum of these 3 elements. Okay, so this is the sum of each row. Now I would like to calculate the sum of each column. Again, I call the apply function for the X array. Use the sum function for margin equals 2, meaning that I would like to have the sum of each column for the X array using the apply function. It is going to be assigned to call sums and we are printing it in the output. So we see 6, 15, and 12, 24. So 6 comes from 1 plus 2 plus 3. 15 comes from 4 plus 5 plus 6, and 24 comes from 7, 8, and 9. Basically, this is how we can have the sum of each row and sum of each column. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to learn how to have the sum of values inside an array in our programming language. So the array name is R. I call it X for the sake of simplicity. So this array is having numbers from 1 to 9 and it has 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay. So an array is created with 3 rows and 3 columns with numbers from 1 to 9. So first of all, let me print the value of X. So when I run the code, this is the value of X. This is my array. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So these are the values. Okay, now I want to calculate the sum of all the values that are inside this array. Meaning that I would like to have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. What would be the output? The output will be 45. But how can we calculate it in code, actually using codes, not doing it manually? In order to do that, I call the sum function for the X array. So inside parentheses, we write down the name of our array. Okay. So the compiler is going to calculate the sum of all the elements that are inside the X array, and it is going to be assigned to a variable called total. And then I print this total variable, which is 45. So this is basically how we can calculate the sum of all the elements in an array. So if I change the dimensions also, so if I have, for example, 2 rows and 3 columns, and the starting point is from 1 to 6. Now if I run the code, firstly we see that the array is being modified, so we are having 2 rows and 3 columns. And also we are going to see that the sum is 21 because we are having only from 1 to 6. Thanks for watching.